Today's story is there's a serial killer aboard humanity's first colony ship to Mars by Glatimere. It was day 92 aboard the Nosa Loki, and the 7-month trip to set up a colony on Mars was almost within Norway's grasp. While Norway isn't the first country that comes to mind when thinking about spacefarers, apparently the private benefactor believed that this country was the perfect choice for a new age of space exploration. They poured in oodles of money into the space program, as well as other Norwegian programs, promising to continue the funding as long as the government complied with their supposedly reasonable demands. To colonize Mars in secret was the only thing they asked for, which is the main reason you haven't heard anything about this mission in the news. Of course, the government was blinded by the money and agreed, doing everything in their power to cover this endeavor. While these circumstances were abnormal, none of us questioned it. Everyone working on this project had the opportunity to make history here. Something went wrong, though, and this transcript is the final message received from the last member aboard the Loki, Morton. This will most likely be hello for the last time, Command Center crew, so I'll do my best to recount the events that occurred on board the Nosa Loki in this message. I won't only be addressing the Command Center crew, but anyone else you share this with as well. So, here goes nothing. It started roughly 5 days ago, in the morning according to the clocks. Everything about this morning was normal. Our engineer Finn did his routine checkup, while Captain Odd, who doubled as our chief medical officer, communicated any findings back to NOSA's command center. Rena, our chemist, was chatting with Elizabeth, our botanist, about some news article she read recently about a pandemic beginning to spread back on Earth. I signed on as Loki's psychologist, making sure that every human on board was mentally sound for the long journey we had. We planned to set up a colony on Mars, and then after a year they would be sending more supplies as well as people. Things were looking well for the mission. Well, of course they weren't. Hey, guys, I think I see something outside, Finn said worriedly. Captain Odd squinted out the porthole that Finn was gazing through, looking for any sign of the thing that Finn saw. Several agonizing seconds passed before Captain Odd backed away and patted Finn on the back. I don't know what you're on about, Finn, but the next time you see something out in the vacuum of space, let me know, Captain Odd said with a heavy guffaw. Rena and Elizabeth chuckled at Captain Odd's, oddities. This 60-year-old man with a bushy graying beard and fit physique gave you the impression of an old sea captain, just waiting for his next chance to crack a joke. I could have sworn I saw something fly past the ship, Finn said, checking again. Could have been your mind playing tricks, I said reassuringly. You're probably right. I didn't get much sleep last night. Well, if anyone would like to join me, I'll be in the rec room working out the old anchors, Captain Odd said while making his way towards the recreational wing of Loki. We all passed him up on the offer, feeling content staying in the main lounge. About 30 minutes after Captain Odd had left, the thing that Finn supposedly imagined breached the hull of an unknown wing on the ship. Warning lights began flashing along to an ear-piercing alarm, amplifying the chaos of the initial shock. The automatic containment doors activated and contained the leakage, but the damage was already done. We all scrambled to assist Finn in finding out where the hull was destroyed, and after checking every maintenance report coming in from the ship's command console, the area was discovered. It says here that the wreck wing was breached, Finn shouted over the siren that he then flicked off. Wait, then that means... Rena began. We all rushed to the large window overlooking the void of space and saw what we had all feared. Captain Odd's body was floating motionless in space, still clad in his workout uniform. Alongside him was the now destroyed treadmill he was working out on, and several pieces of crumpled up metal from the impact. Without hesitation, Elizabeth and Finn ran to pull his body out of the infinite abyss before it drifted away forever. Rena and I watched with bated breath as Elizabeth slowly maneuvered herself towards the body, careful not to have her suit cut by any of the debris. Along with his body, she also pulled something out from behind the broken treadmill. It appeared to be some sort of primitive-looking satellite, but it was too difficult to tell from the distance that Rena and I were watching from. "I found this behind the treadmill, and I think we've got a bigger problem than Odd's death on our hands now," Elizabeth said while hauling in both Captain Odd's body as well as the object that she found. A large, crumpled-up satellite dish covered the main body of the object, which was surrounded by gold plating. 2 smaller prongs and 1 larger one jutted out from the bottom, all of them now dangling limply like a finger held together only by a tendon of metal. That's when we saw why Elizabeth viewed this satellite as a bigger problem. Some sort of golden disc, now shattered from the impact, had several cryptic patterns engraved on it. "Holy shit, it's the Voyager 1, Finn said, awestruck. "How is this possible? This should be billions and billions of miles away from where we are," Rena said. "I'm as confused as you guys are, but our top priority is to let home base know about this. I'll be taking command in place of Captain Odd, and we will figure this out," said Elizabeth. Rena went to Captain Odd's body, and we could all tell that she was holding back tears. We were all professionals, so we knew that the time to mourn wasn't now, but Rena was the most emotional human here. While she was silently grieving for the loss of his death, I watched as Finn began examining the shattered disc. Maybe it was out of curiosity, or maybe he saw some pattern with that engineer's brain of his, but he began to frantically place the remaining pieces of the disc back together. There was something else engraved sloppily onto the disc, something we all knew wasn't on the disc before it launched into the depths of space. "The culprit is on board," Finn read aloud. Everyone went silent. The seed of suspicion was planted. "The hell does that mean?" Finn asked. "One of us did this?" Rena said, puzzled. "That makes absolutely 0 sense," Elizabeth said. "None of us have the capacity to do something like this." "At least we think no one does," Finn said while looking around the room. "Think logically for a second, Finn," Elizabeth shouted. "How could any of us not only get the Voyager 1, which should have been billions of miles away, but then also target its trajectory to our ship?" "Maybe something got the message sent out and they're letting us know that they've received it," Rena said quietly. "Ah, hell," said Finn. "So you're saying that one of us on board is an alien?" Rena and Finn, both of you, just stop for a minute and think about this. You're speculating that an alien race, most likely advanced, detected the Voyager 1 floating aimlessly through space, and then proceeded to disguise itself as one of us, and then crash the probe into the very ship it's residing in, only for it to say that it's on the ship with us. What kind of weird logic is that? Right, Morton? Tell me you're not divulging in their delusions," Elizabeth said, staring at me with pleading eyes. I thought for a moment, trying to figure out the best way to word this before I finally responded. "Maybe, if one of us is perhaps an alien, they set this whole thing up for some specific reason. That's it. You're all reasonably panicked from this situation. As captain, I order all of you back to your rooms immediately until this situation can be resolved with the command center," Elizabeth said sternly. "I refuse," Finn said defiantly. "How do we know you're not the culprit?" Finn always confided in me during our therapy sessions that he believes a lot of crazy conspiracy theories. So the strange notion that one of us is secretly an alien that set this whole scenario up was easier for him to grasp onto than anyone else. "You're out of line, Finn. Obey this order or I'll consider this treason against the government," Elizabeth said. Just as things seemed like they were about to escalate even further, I stepped between the two of them. "Hey, let's all head to our rooms for the time being and give ourselves a chance to cool down by staying away from everyone for a bit." Finn and Elizabeth reluctantly agreed, all the while giving each other this vitriolic stare. We all resigned to our rooms and waited to regroup for several days. During those days, the new Captain Elizabeth reported our current situation, and the government responded with a desire to continue the mission regardless. Most likely blinded by the thought of losing the money from the funder if we didn't complete this one demand of theirs. This self-isolation did nothing but exacerbate the suspicion, and it allowed the seed to flourish into something sinister within Finn and Elizabeth. It was obvious that they were mere seconds away from tearing each other's throats out whenever they saw each other. Elizabeth explained to me in our past therapy sessions that she resented the idea of being second in command instead of being the captain. And now that she had this power, she was furious that Finn wasn't kneeling before her. I was there when the seed finally blossomed. How couldn't I be? Finn leapt toward Elizabeth with a sudden battle cry while they were both passing each other in the central hall. He lodged a piece of the Voyager 1's disk that he had stored away deep into Elizabeth's jugular, coating Finn and parts of the wall in her draining life force. Finn expected there to be some sort of device deactivation, or perhaps the creature would revert back to its physical form after it had been killed, but none of that happened. No matter how hard Finn searched for some sort of device, and no matter how much he wished for her supposedly true form to appear, it never occurred. Distraught and lost, Finn began to sob uncontrollably next to her lifeless corpse. He had just killed someone, and nothing in life can prepare you to take another life. Rena, having heard the commotion, began sprinting from her room to the main hall to see what was happening. When she turned the corner, Finn was already using the same disc shrapnel he used to kill Elizabeth to kill himself. It slid jaggedly across his throat, getting caught on a few veins before finally dropping from his hand after he passed out from the pain. He died roughly 10 seconds later. Nothing in the universe could stop me from laughing. All of my planning was worth it for this moment. The months spent socializing with these apes, acting like I cared even slightly, all culminated to this ecstasy I felt. I was laughing so hard that I didn't notice Rena lunged at me with the disc shrapnel she took from the ground. It bounced easily off of my body field I had equipped. Nothing these creatures had on the ship could penetrate this armor, that much I was sure of. She dropped her last resort defense and began to back away in pure fear. It was you!" Rena screamed shakily. "Yes, it was," I said, still trying to contain my laughter. "Wait, what are you?" "I'm the one who got the message. An outcast. I'm what you would call a serial killer on my home planet that is light years away from here. On the run from law enforcement. Thoughts of having to give up what I love doing nearly crossed my mind before I stumbled upon your little message. Intelligent life, ripe for the terrorizing, and I just couldn't resist. My disguise invention worked wonders on my home planet, giving me the immense pleasure of seeing my victims sow their own seeds of suspicion and killing each other instead of the real culprit. How could something like you get the message first?" Rena said, tears beginning to stream down her face. "You can't honestly be naive enough to believe that someone with the best intentions would be the first to receive your message, Suddenly, as soon as it seemed that Rena was about to lose all hope, her face lit up. With a shaky confidence, Rena looked straight into my eyes. "You'll pay for what you've done." I burst out laughing, and as soon as I did, she began running. She had nowhere to go, so I continued to laugh at her unwarranted hope. I slowly began walking down the corridors of the Nosa Loki, following the echoing sounds of her footsteps. "So, what did you think of my new calling card? I thought the scratchy handwriting and probe were neat enough, but that'll be hard to pull off if your entire race isn't spacefaring," I said casually. She didn't respond and continued to run, while I continued to talk. I had to wait a hell of a long time before I could get to this point, but I'm an expert at waiting, as long as the payoff is worth it. All the setup, the time spent studying your language, the time replicating your currency to bribe your government, etc., all to see this scenario unfold. It was all worth it. I heard the door to her room slam shut, and thought how childish this human was acting. It wasn't until I heard her start to use her mini chemistry lab in her room that I began to panic. I tore the door off its metal hinges, remarking at how much weaker humans were compared to our species. What was revealed behind the door was a mischievous Rena smiling at me, holding something in a beaker. It must have been something akin to nitroglycerin, because when she threw it at her feet, it created a violent explosion. A hole that allowed the vacuum of space to take hold was opened from this detonation, and began taking everything with it. A small crack was created in my body shield, and that was enough to start ripping my skin through the crack and out into space, like a child trying to suck the last of their juice through a straw. Luckily for me, the breech doors closed on her room before any more damage could be caused. And now, I'm here. Sole survivor of Nosa Loki. I found this experience most enjoyable and plan on waiting here until your species becomes fully spacefaring, so that I may continue my little experiments. And don't worry, I don't care how long it takes you, because I am very patient. The transmission ends here, and I'm not sure what to do. Our government refuses to release this information to the public, but I think that people deserve to know. An alien serial killer is waiting for humanity to become spacefaring, and no one but the personnel responsible for overseeing this mission know. Hopefully this won't get taken down, but if it does, just remember this statement. Not everything lurking in the unknown is friendly. So that was, once again, there's a serial killer aboard humanity's first colony ship to Mars. And I hope you enjoyed that. I really liked that little story. Really good sci-fi. The fact that the main person in the story was the killer is actually pretty interesting. Not a lot of stories pull off the narrator as the killer situation, but I think this one did pretty good, in my opinion. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it and would like more content like this, or content that is so vastly different, it's like comparing extension cords to mailing envelopes, please consider joining the Nevermore. To join the Nevermore, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it, and that makes you part of the Nevermore. You can do things to further support the Nevermore, such as joining me on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, submitting a story to me in the link down below, or supporting me on Ko-fi or Patreon. All of these optional, and every single one of them greatly appreciated, honestly. So, alright everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and if you're not, just know it gets better. I promise. It will get better regardless if it doesn't seem like it will. Just know that it will. One way or another, things will get better. Don't give up. Chin up. You'll be alright. Alright everyone. Love y'all. Talk to you in the next video, but until then, much love, and sleep well.